How we doing, team? Week 3 video. This week we're looking at shooting during our group training session, and hopefully some of you are incorporating that into your team sessions as well. So let's dive right into it. Start off with our 10-minute scrimmage like we do every week, followed by a 5-minute chat to discuss the theme for the day, what the goals are, and what some basic techniques are that we're going to be looking at. Individual skills, followed by our group activity, our expanded group activity, and a final scrimmage. So for the first activity, a little bit different setup just because we want to prepare for what's coming later. So we're going to have this field set up over here. The goal is pushed onto the field for now to create more space for us for our scrimmaging. So all we need in transition is to push that goal back. On the other field, we will have this space already set up, roughly 20 by 30 yards with 2 full-size goals. So we have, again, 2 more sets of goals, so a total of 6 goals, 3 fields that we'll have set up for that third activity. But we'll be using 6 fields when everyone arrives, so we'll play 3v3 or 4v4 depending on how many players we have. And again, setting up the far fields first. Coaches standing somewhere in the middle to help keep the ball divided between the 2 fields. For our individual skills, we simply set up a goal in the middle of the field. So I've just taken cones from the different fields. We'll have a whole bunch of extras out there so they don't literally have to move from the other field. But I just wanted to show you that often it's nice to have a different color for this goal so it's not confusing to the players, especially with so many people out there and so many cones and everything else going on. It's nice just to have a nice clear goal for what they're shooting at. So different color for the goal, real basic activity, just looking at that shooting technique. 2 lines on opposite sides of this goal. Shoot through the goal, follow your pass, switch lines. And the next player will come back and do the same thing. So they're probably going to retrieve their own ball. I would suggest everybody has their own ball just to save time rather than trying to share one ball and then having to chase it every time somebody makes a poor shot or needs 2 or 3 touches to get it through the goal, whatever the case may be. Let's try to reinforce the 3 most critical components of the shooting or passing technique, which are going to be your plant foot pointed towards your target, follow through towards your target, and lock your ankle tight. In this case, we're trying to reinforce shooting with your laces. It's a difficult technique for a lot of younger players, so if they're using the inside of their foot, that's just fine. Let's try to avoid using the toe as much as possible. If they use a little bit of the outside of their foot, just fine as well. So they're just trying to get the idea of locking that ankle tight, following through towards their target, plant foot pointed towards their target, and that will be plenty to work on for tonight. Real smooth transition then into our second activity. So now you can see all we've done, and we can do this during the first activity, maybe with some assistant coaches supporting, or each coach per group, however we divide, would be responsible for this as well. We've just set up another goal. So these goals were used in the previous activity and we're already there. Now we've set up another one on the end line. So we have 6 fields again. And if you remember from the notes, the way this game will start is with a goalie, 2 players on the outside, and depending on the numbers, it could be 3, maybe somebody's waiting in line over here. And the first 2 players are going to run out as the coach will serve the ball to someone in one of the corners. It's then 2v2. So if you steal the ball, you're shooting on the other goal. And whoever receives the ball obviously would then attack immediately as well. If they have an open shot, they take it. They are not required to pass. They only pass as needed. So don't focus on the passing so much. If there's a brief moment of why someone should have passed versus shooting, if there's 2 defenders in front of them and the other player is wide open, that's about the only time that I would talk about passing. Otherwise, we're talking about looking to shoot. So again, take your shot. They're going to make some passes on their own. Try to avoid too much focus onto the passing, again, with the exception of if they're trying to beat two defenders off the dribble. That's probably a poor choice. That means their teammate's wide open and they should lay it off to them. Otherwise, we're talking about shooting technique, celebrating goals, and just really having fun with that overall theme. So for the expanded small group now, this is from the first field, just for my convenience of making this slide. This is actually over here. So it was just easier for me to make the slide this way. But again, these fields were already set up at the start of practice, so they're all ready to go, no transition required. For this transition, all we had to do was back this goal up. Prior to this, we should have also asked all the players to pick up all the other cones so that we're ready for our final scrimmage. So what we'll do for this activity is we'll have 3 teams, and 4v4 with a goalie, 5v5, depending on your numbers again, per group, and 2 teams on, 1 team's off. When a team gets scored on, the third team steps in, takes the ball, and comes back at the other team. So we'll need 3 colors, so the pennies will need to be allocated for a shirts team and 2 different colors. And then we will, again, try to rotate quickly. If for some reason a team is not scoring quickly, if the game is taking more than 2, maybe 3 minutes, we're going to want to rotate teams on our own. So coaches kind of keep track of time, maybe use your phone as a watch, use the timer on there to run a 3-minute timer. And if a game, again, reaches 3 minutes, I would send off the team that's been on the field the longest. So it should be fast paced, should be a lot of fun. Reinforcing shooting technique. Again, trying to talk only briefly about passing, only briefly about team shape and structure. Stay focused on the individual skill of shooting. And again, in your team sessions, maybe you're going to talk a little bit more about positioning and team tactics. But for this session, it goes by so fast with all these kiddos out there. I would stay focused on just the technique, just the individual skill, and how it incorporates into this bigger game. So when we talk about a tactical idea involving shooting, I would only talk about maybe where you can position your body to best receive a pass to look to shoot. So how do players off the ball try to get open? Position their bodies to face the goal so that as the ball comes to them, they can take a positive first touch, attack the goal, and have a shot quickly. So again, it's all about shooting. So again, these fields are flipped. This is the field that is located over here, but we'll do the same thing on both fields. So now we're just going to divide it up into big scrimmages, trying to go with a full 6v6 if you can, 6v6 plus a goalie, just like we will be in our games. Again, only talking briefly about team shape and tactics during our group training session. For the most part, we want to let them play, let them have fun, maybe 1 freeze during the scrimmage, but we don't want to keep stopping play to talk about tactical ideas. They're going to get much more benefit out of simply playing. Shared sideline again here would be a good spot for coaches to stand to try to keep the ball in play per their side, or assist again as needed if you have to chase a ball onto the other field. We'll wrap up just a little bit at the end. So we'll bring them all back together for that last 2 minutes to reiterate what we were after for the day, talking about our shooting technique, celebrating some great goals that we saw, and having some fun, some high fives, and we'll send them on their way. So hope to see many of you out there tomorrow night. Hope your training sessions are going well at your team practice. As always, feel free to reach out to me via email, phone call, text message, and let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Talk to you soon.